Hello, it's Mella, and today's video is going to be just some tips for building exteriors in Minecraft. So to start off here, you can see I'm just putting together a quick basic house, and it looks okay. And it does the job if you're working in a survival world, but I immediately started working on adding some things to it. So here's the first tip is if you're building a roof, always make sure that the roof is not on the exact edge of the building. Like, it should have a little bit of an overhang. It just gives the house, if you're building a house or any building really, more shape. And also never do a flat roof unless you're doing something modern, in which case you should probably do multiple different levels so that it has tons of contrast. Also, as you can see here, I did the edge, but normally you would put, and I do it later in the video, more stairs underneath it so that it looks thicker, I should say, which I forgot to do on the back, and I'm sorry. And as you can see, I'm just continuing to do that. Another advice that I would have is to always make the roof different color from the building. Like, use different blocks for pretty much everything, but not a different block for literally everything, Like, as you can see, I used spruce roof, the stairs, so I also did the support beams that I made. Those were also spruce. But as you can see on the actual house, I used oak planks and stripped oak for the accent on the corner. So as you can see here, I'm adding some windows, just change them up a little bit. I always recommend using glass panes instead of windows, I guess, even though they are windows. And as you can see, I just kind of changed them up. I was doing all of this very fast and I kept changing my mind, so sorry if I keep deleting things and then going back and fixing everything, I guess I should say. Also, another thing is always make sure that you look at what you're building from the inside and the outside, because oftentimes I will build something and then notice, oh, it's not big enough on the inside for what I want to make, and then I end up adding more to it, which it's a lot easier if, as you're building, you keep looking inside and seeing. Like, as I was inside, I noticed, okay, maybe the front could use some windows, and here I am adding some blue windows. And I also noticed there was a quick hole in the roof. I fixed that up. And I also added some more, I guess in a real house it would be support beams or the structure of the house, but I added these stripped oak beams across the house, which I think really adds some more depth and character to the house. It makes it just look more interesting, just a bit more detail. And I've seen people with doing huge builds, they use stairs and walls and fences and all kinds of stuff to add tons of detail, and I think that's really cool. Here I fixed up the front of the roof and added some shutters to the window. And as you can see, I added them, I wanted them to be in front of the other window. Found it looks like it was closed, but I noticed it doesn't look like actual shutters, because if you close them on the front windows, they would be too big. So I ended up changing those later, and I just added some quick shutters to the rest of the house. Also because I feel like the spruce really contrasted with the rest of the house, so that looked good. And here I added some planters, or flower boxes, I guess you could also call them. I don't know why or where I got the idea from, but I've been building them on pretty much every house that I do, and I think they look really cool. And usually I use spruce, but I used jungle today because, there was no jungle in the house, so that's what I wanted to add. And I think it's looking okay so far. So I added a door and also added this little frame around the door. I feel like it just adds a little more interesting stuff to it. I also added a path because, if you were building a real house, there would obviously be a path up to it. And my advice for building paths is take a bunch of blocks that you think look sort of similar and just randomly place them. I try not to have any too close to each other, and that's also what I'm doing here is I'm adding texture to the the bricks around the bottom of the house. And here I also added a second floor because I felt like the ceilings were really, really tall. And here I was finishing adding texture because, I feel like if it were a real house, obviously, and with kind of the naturey vibe that I'm going with, it would have some mossy cobblestone. It wouldn't all be perfect. And I also decided to add a little pond because, as I said, I'm going for kind of a naturey sort of thing. Although I ended up changing the pond a couple times because, like, that shape, it doesn't look very natural, does it? I try to do it randomly, but then I pretty much always randomly do the exact same shape. And I kept missing up here as well. But I filled it all up and added some lily pads, which if you're going to build a pond, I do recommend adding lily pads and also a little bit of sand on the edge, I don't know how much I like the sand because I feel like a real lake would have sand on the edge, but since this one is so small, it might not. I also added some greenery and put string on top of it, which I saw it stops making it grow, so you can keep your bamboo at like the perfect length that you want, and I think that's really cool. I also added some trees, and I made spruce ones first because I like spruce trees personally. I think they're the prettiest tree in the game. I really love how the leaves look, and I also added some birch trees. Yeah, because I feel like they kind of contrast with the spruce trees, and you don't normally see those next to each other in Minecraft, and I just thought it would be kind of cool, especially because that's like kind of what the house looks like. It's like dark and light. Also, if you're going to build something this naturey, you have to bone meal the ground. It's kind of a thing that makes it look so much better. I also added flowers in the flower boxes, which I would have done earlier, but I forgot, to be quite honest. And I also noticed that when I bone mealed one of the areas over there, a flower had gone into one of the flower boxes, and I just left it there because that's actually kind of cool. I also added vines coming from the top of the house because, I don't know, it probably isn't very realistic, but adding these huge leafy vines I think looks really cool in a build, especially like this little house. Even though I'm pretty sure the people living in it would not appreciate having huge vines just sitting on top of their house. But I think it looks cute. And yeah, I also don't have much else to say, to be honest. Anyway, as I was fixing up the vines, because I noticed there was kind of a glitch, I couldn't place the vines on top of that specific part of the roof, I just kind of kept fixing them up, There were also some that kind of looked like they were just hanging off, which I think looks so cool because there is the overhang in the roof. And I also added some barrels because, I don't know, I like the way they look, to be honest, and also some lanterns because I love the light that they give off, especially with the shaders that I use. I think it just looks so nice. Also flower pots because they're also adorable, and if it's one thing I recommend is putting lanterns and flower pots and also barrels in your builds and trying to experiment with different blocks like stained glass. I never would have used that, but then my friend actually started building and she added some stained glass to one of her builds. I was like, that's actually really cool. I never actually thought of doing that. And here I add a chimney because I feel like that's something literally all of the houses that I build have. It doesn't matter what build it is, like what style I feel like. If it's more like a cottage core kind of thing, then yeah, a chimney would make more sense. But even like a modern one, like you could add like a big industrial fancy chimney, I guess, and I feel like it would still look cool just having the smoke animation, I also added this street lamp, even though this is probably obviously in the woods, I still feel like it looks kind of cool. I also added some more sticks with lamps on top of them, just because to light up the surrounding area. I feel like if you were going on a walk in the woods, like around your house, you would probably have like some lanterns or some light every now and then, just so you won't get lost or anything. And as I put in all of the flowers, I realized the house is done, pretty much, except for these vines that I added last minute because that area was looking a little bare. And that's about it. Here's the final result. I'm proud of this. I really hope that you learn something from it, like try to experiment with new things in your builds. Don't always go for the same style, even though that's what I do. Um, add trees, nature, try different things that you haven't done before. And if you're going for kind of the aesthetic vibe, you know, lanterns and other stuff, just it really adds something to it. And I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and be sure to leave a like and comment, and you know, maybe subscribe too if you really liked it. I hope you have a great day.